Oh, I messed it all up. There we go. There we go. Got it. A rare miss. What's up, Amazon sellers? Welcome back to the weekly Amazon Q&A show where we share some e-commerce news, some stats, the occasional business maxim, and answer your questions about selling on Amazon. So if you've got a question about retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, wholesale, or perhaps you just have a Keepa quandary, drop it in the chat and we are here to help you any way we can for the next hour. For those of you new here, my name is Chris Grant, and to my right is my rhapsodical co-host Chris Rasick. Chris, I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off because I was a little embarrassed that I accidentally forgot to hit the button to turn off the music. However, not as embarrassed as those who may be from that state up north, the Mitten State. Had a loss at the hands of Ohio State a couple of weeks ago, and today, someone on their team found a way to cheat in a different way. Now, I have to acknowledge the irony. I do feel bad because he's got a family, and I don't want them to pay the price for his mistakes. But the head coach is now gone, and they've got to go looking for yet another head coach in that state up north.
Yeah, it's the situation is unfortunate. It's tough to balance how sympathy for the family and the just unbearable desire to point and laugh, Simpson style, at the misfortune. And interim. Did you see the interim coach's name?
I did not.
His name is Biff.
Ooh,
it's some animated show that we're involved in. So, yeah, that's
the jokes are going to write themselves if he misses a play call or loses a game. I mean, do you really want to be he really biffed it? I mean,
right. yeah. It's safe to say he's probably like old school mentality. I think that's safe to say, but yeah. So, boy, poor Mitten State people. It's been a rough few weeks for them. So
it has been. All right. Well, enough of our walking on graves. Let's talk a little bit about news. And of course, if you guys have questions, we want to answer them for you. And we get to those a lot sooner than we have in the past. So make sure to drop them in the chat and we will we'll talk about it. But a couple of pieces of news, a little bit of a slow news week, but Amazon has come out with a couple of pieces of news that are interesting. The very first one is that commingling will end effective March 31st of 2026. So in March, they're going to end commingling practices across the entire supply chain, and they're going to be updating eligibility criteria for using manufacturer barcodes. This is probably not really a big deal for much of anybody. It's probably not going to change the way that you do business. It's been known for years that you should not commingle. We know that some people still do, but it is it is known that it's not a good idea. Now, for those of you who may be a little bit newer, what is commingling? Well, commingling is when Amazon fulfills customer orders using exact product matches from the closest available inventory in Amazon's fulfillment network, even if that inventory belonged to a different seller. And that, of course, was to achieve faster delivery speeds. And now most sellers maintain inventory levels that keep products close to customers, so Amazon can kind of get rid of commingling. There are going to be some changes. All right. So if someone is a brand owner with brand representative selling role in the Amazon brand registry, they'll no longer need to apply Amazon barcode stickers to prevent commingling. If it's got a manufacturer barcode, they can just send it in. So for people who have their own brand for people who may do brand direct partnerships or manage brands, this could be a bit of a boon. It will allow them to remove one piece of their workflow before items get sent into Amazon if they were using FNSKU stickers. If not, doesn't really change anything for them. For resellers, for those of us doing arbitrage and you're not enrolled in the Amazon brand registry as a brand representative, well, now you're going to be required to use an Amazon barcode or an FNSKU label. Everything will have to have it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, not really much changing here. I have seen a couple of people say, oh, well, this is just another reason that brand direct is the way of the future. Correlation is not causation in this particular case. Like there is no correlation whatsoever there. Like I said, you're probably already putting FNSKU labels on here. This does not mean that Amazon is shutting down more brands or anything like that. They're just not going to use my inventory when Chris makes a sale. And they're not supposed to do this if you have FNSKU labels on there, but they have. I've gotten things returned to me with other people's FNSKU labels on them. So, but that's it. Kind of a big deal because commingling's been around for so long, but also kind of not a big deal.
Yeah, they're. Well, I guess they're not going to admit that they're using my inventory to fulfill your orders, right? That's
exactly.
But so my question here in this is at least part of this a testament to their flywheel approach? I mean, is this confidence in inventory distribution from inside their walls?
That is, I mean, reading between the lines, that's what I read. Yes. Yeah. And I mean, and I'm reading like the fine print between the lines here. But I actually think that this means that we're going to need to pay more attention to where we're getting sales price wise. I think this makes the regional buy box a little bit stronger because this is obviously going to be what we're looking to get it to the customer as fast as possible. And I don't know. This just says to me that price is not as big of a deal as it has been in the past because now we're not picking from someone else's inventory. We're going to pick yours. We're going to pick the one closest to the customer. And so like something I've been looking at a lot more lately is comparing. So Seller Snap gives you a little piece of data of what your average price was when you won the buy box. And I've been comparing that to what the lowest price is because they give you another little piece of data, like what the price is right now in the buy box, wherever they're pulling that data from. And if I'm seeing a bit of a discrepancy there, where maybe my average buy box win is 40 or 50 cents more or something like that, I'm trying to move that price up just a little bit, my minimum price up just a little bit. Because I know that I don't have to compete with those people all the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because the facts of what commingling, the advantage that it gave Amazon, like using other sellers' inventory that's closer, but giving credit, it basically buys them extra time from the processing point of view but it also keeps the speed up to the customer, obviously, right? So yeah, I wonder if they rolled out any kind of improvements internally to the regional buy box, or if that's been a steady because they've spent a ton of money on infrastructure, so I'd be shocked to learn if some of that, maybe it doesn't hit the headlines, maybe it's not for the benefit of the stockholders and public perception and whatnot. But I'd be shocked if there wasn't also a fairly big dollar figure attached to enhancing regional buy boxes and making that a little more sophisticated.
Absolutely. I either need to finish vibe coding the Chrome extension that checks regional buy boxes, or like SellerAmp needs to add that to their program. Maybe I'll talk to Al about that. I'm sure they could do it much better than I could. So I keep getting stuck trying to vibe code this thing, and then I walk away.
Could almost be something could be crowdsourced, I imagine, right? Because you have sellers from all over the place, accessing Amazon product detail pages, and I'd imagine there's probably a way.
Well, the easy thing is you can just change the zip code on Amazon. So if you're on Amazon, you can change the zip code. So the way my extension worked, the way that I vibe coded it was, you give it a list of say 20 different zip codes, and then it just goes and checks all of those for you. I can get the web app portion to work, but only on like 2 ASINs, and then it doesn't like it. So I probably need a proxy or something to go through that many zip codes. But I just haven't taken the time to mess with it.
It's interesting.
And because then if you then go in and add in like, well, what's the average buy box price? Then you could be like, oh, well, okay, I can see that, this person's at maybe 21, this person's at 21.50, but the average buy box price is like 21.75. I would imagine you could probably be a little bit closer to that. And then if you were to cross-reference that with like where in the country your inventory is, you could really get granular if you wanted to. Like maybe I could be at 24.50 because my inventory is in the Northeast. But anyway, that's kind of where my brain was going with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept.
All right, let's answer some of your guys' questions, and we'll get back to a little bit of news. And of course, if you have questions, please drop them. That's what we're here for. Nick, would you be able to explain how ungating works for new sellers? What should I expect when I start getting sales, and what amount of sales does it take to have most items ungated? Well, ungating works for new sellers very similar to the way that it works for longtime sellers. If you're gated, you're going to be required to show evidence that you've purchased inventory from a legitimate source. Sometimes they will say invoice, sometimes they'll say receipt. Sometimes it will be a different number of units required, whether you're using Amazon as your supplier or someone else as your supplier. You can often use retailers like Target, like say Nike, Soccer, Webster on Store, these kinds of places. You don't necessarily have to go and find a wholesaler or a distributor. And then you have to submit over and over and over again, along with your shipping confirmation, your delivery confirmation, maybe a credit card statement, all that stuff, because Amazon really wants to know that you're buying legitimate inventory. That's what they want to see. Now, what should you expect when you start getting sales? Well, you're going to be in the sandbox, as Chris likes to call it, for the first little while, and you're probably going to see more items gated than ungated. And over time, you'll start getting ungated automatically. Whenever you come across a product where you are gated, you should request to get ungated every single time. With enough of them, you will get ungated in hundreds, if not thousands. Now, how many sales does it take to have most items ungated? That's not a thing anymore. Like, are you going to see more ungates once you get out of that quote unquote sandbox? Which anecdotally, I think that's right around the $20,000 in gross merchandise volume. That's not on a monthly basis. That's total sales. Okay. I think you'll end up seeing more ungates happen automatically, but in today's climate, you're not going to see 6 out of 10 auto ungates. It's not going to be the way it is.
Do they still do the driver's ed cars? They still make those where there's a brake pedal on the passenger side too for the instructor?
It's a great question. I hope
Yeah,
so.
it's kind of like that. When you learn to drive, the instructor is going to have a brake pedal too. So, and then eventually you pass the test. Not that when it's given or when you're taking it, but then eventually Amazon will grant you your license, and things get a lot more open from there.
Mm-hmm. Man, I really hope those still exist. Here in Florida, they still teach driver's ed in high schools. So,
Oh, really?
Wyatt will take driver's ed in high school, and I'm hoping they still have that. As a matter of fact, at the high school that he will go to, they even have like a practice area. This is where I took my oldest son to go practice, because they have parallel parking spots and all kinds of things.
Nice. Why? I mean, what would be the argument to get rid of them? Let's put it that way.
Right?
Couldn't you imagine the instructors like, "Hey, we're gonna knock it off with the extra brake pedal"? They're like, no.
Hey guys, is there a way to know if a specific ASIN is returnable or not? It should say on the product detail page. Usually, it'll say this product is not returnable. Jeremy, commingling equals screwed for inauthentic, etc. Anyway, right? It can make it harder to beat an inauthentic complaint. I have done it when I have made the mistake of commingling, or on the very rare occasion that I've sold a product where Amazon wouldn't let you put an FNSKU label on it. I have beat them, but it does make it a little harder. Amazon Conwan, you are both looking great today. Listen, flattery is going to get you everywhere, my friend. So just keep that coming. But may I ask you if you could give us tips on how to use the seasonal filter on KPF? Would like to know what sells best around February. In OAC Plus, we've actually done some videos on this and talked about it. My suggestion would be to try to find patterns. Go look for, say, February of 2024 and see what kind of things are popping up. Are you seeing some more, cherry candies? Are you seeing more heart-shaped boxes of candy? You might be seeing some more plush items sneak to the top of the bestseller lists. I would look for those kinds of things. And then also, if, say, for example, that you wanted to, we've got Super Saturday coming up in 10 days. Let's say between now and Super Saturday, you wanted to find some items that are popping off. I would go into the seasonal filter, look for the items, that were best sellers in December of 2025. And then you can add in some filters for the prices right now, the sales ranks right now, and things like that. So lots of things you can mess around with in there.
Did you say historical sales rank?
You can do the historical sales rank, and then you can also do the current sales rank.
Yeah. See, yeah, I was looking at Deal Hunter hitting us up for money. So I wasn't sure if you mentioned the historical sales rank or not, but that's, you can kind of add that as do some combinations with that involved, and compare. You can kind of use that in complement with current rank, and you could probably filter down to some stuff that's pretty obviously going to increase in sales in February.
Mm-hmm. Deal Hunter, I filed a safety claim for getting a junk return from the customer. As you requested, the confusion in the call was, what is the amount Amazon will grant a reimbursement? The cost price was $43. if I'm not mistaken, when it comes to a safety claim, they should be reimbursing you the sales price minus any fees. That's the way it should be reimbursed. If I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah. So you sold these items for 120. Amazon reimbursed you 101. Yeah, it is selling price minus fees. Absolutely. AutoZone. Do you recommend hub staff for a newly hired VA? Pros and cons. I'm not a huge fan of looking over the shoulder of team members. Does there need to be some sort of tracking? Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. However, my problem is if you start off a relationship by saying, "Hey, great to have you on the team. Welcome aboard. I'm ready for this to be a profitable endeavor together," and you use all of those, team building words and phrases and things like that, and you're like, "But by the way, I need you to install this software that spies on everything you're doing while you're clocked in." It just doesn't give me the feel goods. So I end up staying away from it. Now, some people might say, but you don't know what they're doing. I know. I don't expect my folks to work for 8 hours straight because I know that we're not working for 8 hours straight. We're going in and we're sourcing for 90 minutes and then we're answering some emails and then we're scrolling Instagram and TikTok. And then we're going and having some lunch and unloading the dishwasher and taking out the trash. And then we're coming back and working again. And we're like, oh, I put in 12 hours today. Sure. And listen, I'm not calling any one particular person out. This is me too. All right. I do this. I mean, I had some lunch with my wife and then I took a walk. But if someone asked me, "Hey, what time did you start working today?" I've been working since 9 o'clock. What are you talking about? So I don't like to do that. So instead, what you can do is you can have some requirements in place. Like, listen, this is what we expect. And if we don't get what we expect, then we've got to start either doing some retraining or it's time to let people go. It's okay to hire slow and fire fast. That is all right. Managing people is going to be one of the most difficult things you do in any business. And this business is no different. And then the other thing I like to do is if you want to know the outcomes, really pay attention to the incentives. So if there is something in particular that you're wanting to make sure that your employees do, your team members do, make sure that the incentives are built in a way that pushes them in that direction.
Yeah, I think probably almost most of the things on the list, if you made a list of things that something like a hub staff, and that level of well, let's call it what it is, micromanagement. I think if you made a list of things that you were trying to prevent by putting that in place, I would imagine almost all of them, if not all, would probably shake out in one way or another. What would you think what's the biggest fear that they're working for multiple sellers at the same time? That's probably going to shake out in the long-term profitability of the ASINs, that the leads that they find. And that's something that should be apparent because we should be going through their output, that what we're paying them for, we should have a good grasp on what's going on. So I think most of our fears, we'd find out if it was going on anyway, yeah, I do. There's things like, I do a quota on a weekly basis. I've talked about it a couple different times. I have a scoring system for the VAs based on after I review it, whether it's a good lead, a maybe, or, a bad lead that absolutely isn't going to fit the criteria and shouldn't have been put on the sheet, essentially. And then they have to have a certain score at the end of the week, and I kind of monitor that. And, and then I also have them do like print screens, because it's kind of like just working with them and just getting to know how they work and what their output is. I can customize my training and add little things here and there to try to improve, in addition to the training. Like I have them, they're adding 2 different screenshots now. They have to add that to the spreadsheet, because there were a lot of phantom coupon codes, so I said, I need you to take it all the way to checkout right before, one step short of placing the order, clicking that button. I said, and I need you to take a screenshot of that with the coupon code applied. Because I wasn't going to accuse them of just making up codes or but I want them to do their due diligence on the codes that they find, because they absolutely find codes that aren't very clear to me, in the repositories that I use. So yeah,
that's a good idea. I like the 2 screenshots. And another thing you could do, and we're really going deep on this one, but another thing you could do is just be like, hey, I want to teach you something today. Send them a Loom video, and then at the end of that, have them take a Loom video themselves to explain what they've learned and how they're going to implement it. And this can give you a little bit of an insight as to what's open on their computer. Okay. Now, you might have rocket surgeons for employees, but if we're being honest, most people are not rocket surgeons. And if they're working for multiple people and that's the fear, they're probably going to have like, 2 or 3 Google Sheets up and not even realize it. And then they're maybe they click into the wrong one. Like, have them do that rather than pay for another piece of software and make them feel like they're being spied on all the time. To be honest, I've never had an auto ungate. I have seen things I was previously gated in become ungated with nothing done on my part other than sell more stuff. That's an auto ungate. That's what that is.
Yeah, it's just not triggered on your end, right? It's basically just kind of going back to it and whatever. If you use a rev seller or seller amp or something like that, it's just kind of picking up the permissions when you visited the page that time.
How many times did you have to take driver's ed, Rasek?
I looked real quick and I was like, who the hell is Ed Rasek?
Right.
You know what? Just once, pretty sure. Yeah, I was always a good test taker, and I am a driver of to the point where my wife makes fun of me. She says I drive like a grandpa. So I just I take the randomness of the universe and I try to minimize it as much as possible. That's always been my philosophy. My driving habits got much safer when I had children. That was part of the growing up part and the life, the changing of my life in a nothing but a positive way when I had children. So I can't get over that. All the wacky stuff that I did and stupidity and stuff in high school and stuff all went out the window. So yeah, I'm kind of a fuddy-duddy when it comes to driving around.
Southpaw. I'm selling items on Amazon. It says I can sell these items. Then when I go to list them, many are getting restricted. It's super frustrating. Yeah, that is absolutely frustrating. Not sure why that would be happening to you. I can't say for sure. I'd go and check account health and all of that stuff, just to see what may be going on there. And also double check where it's telling you that you can sell the items. Now, like if you're checking in, let's say you're checking in Seller Amp, but you forgot to log into your seller account. Well, then the data may not be accurate, and you need to double check that, that kind of stuff. So,
and make sure, I know it said when you go to list them, make sure you try to take it all the way short of actually hitting save when you add it to the catalog, because there are stories out there, numerous stories of it appearing like it's now restricted. However, the sellers are still able to add it to the catalog. So there's definitely some quirks there though currently.
Deal Hunter, how do you source at these stores that don't have UPC labels? Do you take photos of the products on Seller Amp, and do you take your seller exemption certificate with you every time? I have found that Seller Amp's AI is pretty solid. Amazon Seller Central also lets you take pictures of products. It's also pretty solid. Nothing is better than title searching ever. Title searching is the best. Takes you a little extra time. However, if you use something like WhisperFlow, you can, and actually Chris and I actually just talked about this, but you can take WhisperFlow and you can talk and put in the title very easily, and then hit the search button, and it's faster than typing. So that's another way. And then, do you take your seller exempt certificate with you? Yeah, you should always have that with you. When I was 100% retail arbitrage, I had a small banker's bag that I would carry with me, and inside of that banker's bag was several things. Number one was my Walmart certificate. Meyer had their own seller exempt certificate, so you had to fill it out each and every time. So I would ask them for a pad of them, and they usually give me like 5. I filled them all out, and then I put them on it's going to make me sound old. I put them on a Xerox machine, which some of you may know is a copy machine, and I printed out a bunch of them, and then took them to one of those big knife tables that they have at schools, and I cut them up. And so I had a bunch of those, and then my receipts would go in there, and I had my business credit cards in there. So I had everything in this little banker's bag that I could just take into the store with me, and stuff like that. So I would highly suggest getting something like that.
Did you have your abacus in there too?
Well, the abacus was a little too large, so I just had to leave that on the car seat.
Is Luke here? I wonder. He's very particular about calculators. I wonder if he's particular about the sound of the beads of the abacus. You know, if there's a certain tone that he prefers.
It's red beads or nothing. You know, you give me one of those ones with multicolored beads, and I'm throwing it. You got to go.
That's a scientific version. That's for algebra or something, right?
Yeah. Y'all ready for tax season?
Oh,
what kind of entrepreneurs ready for tax season in December?
Come on now.
Are there any SOPs out there for Keepa? They do exist. Yes, I created them. But yeah, they are out there. I just shipped out my first. Yes.
I think that was a dig.
Is that a dig? And that's okay. I totally get it. I've got a big list of things that need to get done. I know that one is high on the list. It really is. I just shipped out my first product just to learn that Amazon changed the status from being able to sell to gated. What should I do? Would I need to be able to sell? Yeah, you do have to be able to sell the product. You can't be gated in the product. So you're going to want to close and delete that listing if you're truly gated in that product. And you want to try to get it out of Amazon as quickly as possible, because they will ding you for sending in items that are restricted, even if it wasn't restricted when you did send it in. So it's not a huge deal. It actually used to be something that would get you suspended. It doesn't really do that anymore. They're just kind of like, hey, you can't sell this. So get it taken care of.
Yeah. And there's, it depending on the quantities that you buy too. Now that it's gated, see how many units they're asking for. They're at least a slight chance that you may have bought enough units that you already have what you need on the invoice.
Deal Hunter, how do you explain the listing on Amazon when the page shows 100 sold a month, but the seller amp shows 5 per month? Well, listen, I'm a fan of seller amp, but every calculator that's out there, every software tool that's out there that offers an idea of how many sell per month is based on some sort of algorithm that was created by whichever software you're using. Right. So, and there's a bunch of them. There's Seller Amp. There is, Jungle Scout. There is, oh man, what is that thing called? FBA Toolkit. For those of you who've been around for as long as I have, that may ring a bell. And they all have different algorithms based on what data they collect. But the gold bar is the gold standard. If Amazon says it sold 100 plus in the past month, then it sold 100 plus in the past month. Now, the other reason that this may be happening is that the velocity of the product may have just spiked. Okay. So Amazon could be reporting the fact that the velocity has increased pretty quickly and Seller Amp just hasn't caught up yet. That's also possible.
And there's enough like old school movie term, with the spy stuff when they were tracking phone calls and stuff. There's enough data around, like no one knows for sure. Obviously, like the sold over the last 30-day badge is the closest thing to actual numbers that Amazon's willing to give us. But there's enough data points around whatever that number is to triangulate whether it's selling. Like take the Amazon sold over the last 30 days. That's, you can run with that number. Any other number, use it as part of the evaluation process, with sales rank trends and everything else that you would use to get an idea. So
Cedric, how do you guys get through to the VAs? I've asked mine not to source gated and certain brands many, many times, but it just doesn't stick. So we have a list of brands in our spreadsheet that they're not allowed to source. We just added, well, not just, but we've added Mac to that list, within the past couple of months. And then like we added a brand site. So this one was a little difficult. We added a brand site to the no source list, but the brand itself is okay to source as long as it's not from their brand site. But if it's from other retailers, totally fine. Okay. That one was a little bit more difficult to explain. But here's what I would do. Okay. I would go in and I would ask them to make you a loom and say, hey, now I've asked you a few times to not source items that are gated. Can you show me what you're checking to see whether or not it's gated? And then maybe give them an actual like list or add it to your spreadsheet. Like these are the brands that we cannot sell, so that they see it all the time. And if you take a Google Sheet, for example, if that's what you're using for your repository, and add in a sheet and put in all the brands you don't want. And if you have a brand column in each day of your leads, you can have it mark the entire line red if the brand shows up from that other sheet. So, and if you don't know how to do that, go ask one of the AIs. Go ask Grok or ChatGPT or Perplexity. They'll all be able to tell you exactly how to figure that part out. But on the gated side, that one's going to be a little bit harder. I would ask them to make you that Loom video and say, hey, tell me what you're checking. That way they might not know how to check that. And then you can teach them.
Yeah, that's I tell you what, using ChatGPT and Perplexity to make these formulas in Google Sheets, it's a game changer, man. I mean, I have all sorts of these formulas now to pop up if it's been like duplicate ASINs, if they've already sourced it or it's already popped up, and then I'll take the leads that I buy and I put that into a sheet, and that'll let me know. It'll light up if I've added that to a lead list before, and I couldn't format a Google Sheet, if there was a gun to my head, but ChatGPT, it'll bump you into spreadsheet 201, if not 301, just simply copy and pasting, if you're able to tell them what you want it to do. It's amazing.
I used to I cheated in my college Excel class and I still failed. But there have been some times when I'm like, man, I really wish that I had like some really mad Excel skills. And then the other day I watched at the Excel World Finals, because that is a thing that they play on like ESPN, the Ocho. It's they had them running in like WWE style. And I happened to catch that video and I was like, nope, maybe I don't want those skills. It turned me right off. One of the guys was wearing a tricorn hat.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just fashion from the 1700s is what was his thing, apparently.
Because when you think spreadsheets,
exactly,
you think 18th century fashion.
Is it not against Amazon policy to return DVDs? No, I don't believe so. I believe DVDs are returnable. I get returns that have been opened. What should I do after that happens? If you get a return of a DVD that's been opened, I would be, that's what safety claims are for. If they're materially different, then you have a way to get claimed with Amazon. Yeah, Christy, ChatGPT wrote me a script for me that saved me so much time. Yeah. Yeah, it really is a game changer. Sometimes you got to coach it along a little bit, but AI can be very, very helpful. We're not at AGI yet, so it's not going to run your business, but it can certainly help you with some of the difficult tasks that need to be done.
Yeah, almost equally as impressive as being able to write the formula that you need after you've told it what you want is its ability to troubleshoot when it doesn't quite work out exactly the way you need. It's amazing. We've gone back and forth, and if you were reading it, well, my parts are like, okay, it's saying this, what, what's going on, but then I can it'll tell me what it needs to diagnose it, figures it out, and it gives me a patch or a fix, and we eventually get there. It's amazing.
All right, we got a couple more pieces of news, and then we'll answer more of your guys' questions if you have them. But we do have a hard stop tonight at 6:30. So, second piece of news is there is a new pilot program out for shipping discrepancies. I have not gotten the email yet, but I know that our friend Luke did. Amazon's going to be piloting an initiative that automatically investigates and resolves shipments with discrepancies, starting with items valued at $50 or more. And the people who got this email said that based on your selling history, you qualify for this program. And Amazon will proactively investigate and resolve shipments that are included in the pilot without you having to submit a claim. And of course, they're making this change to save you, the seller, time and money by minimizing the need to manually research and file claims for missing inventory in your shipments out of the abundance of kindness that they have. That last part was me, by the way. That part did not get approved for the text of the email. When we create a case for you, a banner will display on the contents tab of your shipment summary page. Will include the detail of the resolution to the case. And then, of course, if you want to track the progress, you can go to inventory, select shipments, review your shipments for discrepancies, etc., and so on. Chris, they're just going to be reimbursing left and right. That's what I'm reading here, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. You know what's fun? Here's a fun exercise. Let's swap all the mentions of Amazon out with, I don't know, you just mentioned Luke. So let's say Taco Bell, right? So Taco Bell announces a new program that will automatically investigate why you didn't get everything that you ordered in the drive-through lane and will let you know to save you a call saying, hey, I didn't get my chalupa. And it will automatically credit you a chalupa on your store credit the next time you come through Taco Bell, right? Like,
how about you run by a stoner employee?
Right? Like, how about you just get my order right the first time? Like, why don't you put something in place to get it to stop happening in the first place, right? Like, or am I being ridiculous?
No, I think you're right on the money here. This is, I don't know. I don't see this being seller friendly, and I'm wondering, if they're going to do this pilot program, if they decide that, oh, well, you just didn't send that item in, which is, I'm guessing, what's going to happen a ton. Is there going to be recourse to say, no, you guys are wrong? Like, here's the weight of the box. Like, what am I going to have to do to fight this?
Like, what? I mean, why would you need to? Why wouldn't there be an investigation before there was a discrepancy? Like, isn't that called QC? Right? I mean, this just feels performative, to be honest.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I agree with you there. All right. The last thing. Now, this is, well, actually, I have two things. This is good. This is good news. Amazon announced today that the program that they started back in August of same-day grocery delivery has expanded to 2,300 locations. That was their goal. They started with 1,000. They wanted to get it to 2,300 locations. They have done that from August to December. This thing has scaled insanely quickly. And they plan on a lot more expansion coming in 2026. This was such a big deal that when they announced it, Target, Kroger, and Walmart stock actually all dipped like 3%. I think Walmart was like 1%. I think Target was like 3%.
Wow.
And they think that going into next year, when Amazon announces this happening yet again, they expect that this will have a similar effect on the competition. In the time that Amazon's done this, August of 2025 to December, Amazon's perishable selection has also grown 30%. Available locations have spread from the usual suspects like Los Angeles, Dallas, and Chicago to smaller locales like Fort Collins, Colorado, Sugar Land, Texas, and Kennesaw, Georgia. The company also said its perishable grocery sales have grown 30x since January.
Hmm.
But they did not provide a baseline. But I can guarantee it wasn't super high. Uh, you know, unless they were comparing that to Whole Foods, at which case it's half $1 billion, $1 billion. I mean, it's a big number. I highly doubt they're using that number in there. What's a bit more interesting, though, is what Amazon consumers have been buying. Amazon said in the areas where the service is available, 9 out of the top 10 best-selling items are in their perishables. It's all fruit. 9 out of 10 are all fruit. Number 10 is a 12-pack of toilet paper. Of their totally makes total sense. Doug Harrington is the CEO of Worldwide Amazon Stores, and he said we're seeing customers combine their fresh grocery orders with their regular Amazon purchases. This is what we called, and this is exactly what we want to see. Okay. We're keeping them. Well, not we, but Amazon is keeping them in the ecosystem. And this is exactly what we want. But they're combining their regular Amazon purchases like electronics, gifts, clothes, and household essentials in ways that make their lives easier and save them valuable time. And then just because I thought this was interesting, regional preferences are also emerging. Here's some particularly popular perishables. That's a good use of alliteration. In different parts of the U.S., according to Amazon, in the Northeast, chocolate chip muffins, broccoli florets, and raw shrimp. In the South, Atlantic salmon, lemonade, that checks, and chicken pot pies, also checks. In the West, cold brew coffee, chicken thighs, and probiotic drinks. That sounds right. And in the Midwest, wheat bread, bacon, and pepperoni pizza. I expected nothing less out of any of those places.
Except that, all right. I wish we didn't have a hard stop, because otherwise I've got some thoughts on chocolate chip muffins. Okay.
Ooh, can you give me the 3-minute version?
You know how oatmeal raisin cookies can kiss my ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you weren't masquerading as a chocolate chip cookie, it'd be something different.
Can I'm sorry, I need to interject, okay? Because not only can oatmeal raisin cookies kiss your ass, but the people who put chocolate chips in them to elevate them, I mean, you're putting lipstick on a pig.
Exactly. Like you just get out of the lane completely. Like don't try to make it better. You've violated my trust already. Don't try to add chocolate chips. Like, get out of here. That's an insult to our intelligence. But right? So it's almost the same thing as the oatmeal raisin cookie. Because if maybe you got a little bit of sleep in your eyes still, or maybe the lights aren't fully on. Because blueberry muffins are the greatest muffin ever.
Okay, I'm on board with you there. I'm going to call lemon poppy seed a close second.
Oh, get out of here! That's no. Come on.
I said second. Racing, relax.
No, you paused. You had to sit there and say, "Do I think lemon poppy seed is on the same level?" I mean, you might as well have said, "I think all of the Fast and Furious movies are quality cinema." I mean, that's look, yeah, that's a major strike. Your pop culture, your reputation, you've certainly gone.
You're treating me like I said bran muffins were a close second. I mean,
I would have ended the stream, not said goodbye. I would have hit this red exit door, and the show would have been over. Chocolate chip muffins just I don't understand. My kids love them, right? And I get why kids love them, but it just, I mean, you already have the chocolate chip cookie, right? I mean, you already own that category. You know, it just doesn't work in a muffin. I don't think it translates, and I have serious opinions on it.
We've lost the audience here. There is a lot of oatmeal raisin is my favorite. IKEA oatmeal cookies are the best, and the oatmeal raisin slander is crazy.
You know what? You guys probably eat grape nuts and shit like that. Like, knock it off. Jesus.
Oh man. All right. Let's answer these last couple of questions, and then we got to get out of here, guys. Is there a way to generate what brands you are ungated for? There is not like a downloadable list anywhere. No, unfortunately. And I would say, like, if you find a brand that you are ungated for, maybe mark it down somewhere, but you're always going to have to double check because it is a fluid situation. Polly, this is awesome. I'm glad to read this. Was ready to throw in the towel on MF. For those of you who might not know, that's merchant fulfilled because it was just making a mess. But today I sold out of 2 ASINs I listed last night, 10 units in total. Reordered the ASINs, and a big shout to Chris's Monday night shows. 1 ASIN was from that show. I'd love to see that.
It's awesome. And if that isn't like a microcosm of the new seller, like that's basically the same, the same arc that you go through. You go through these duds and you think it's not working, and then you just eventually you get, tell me if you heard this one before, enough reps in, and it pops and it makes sense. Chris, we were talking earlier today, and it's something that we should probably kind of investigate and spend a little bit more time with. But there's something to be said about the effect that seeing bad matches over and over again has. Because when we say you got to put your reps in, neither of us are blind to the fact that it's much easier said than done. From 15 years experience with Chris and 6 years experience with me. That was a long time ago, and obviously skill levels have moved up, so it's easy for us to say now in the position that we're in. And I'm sorry if you grimace when we do say that, but it's necessary to say when we do say it. Yeah, there's an effect of seeing bad leads and just kind of, it can be tough to learn. It's an effective way to learn, and it's an effective way to build your skill is to get faster at kicking them out, which kind of makes the process a little bit more efficient, I guess, eventually, because you're simply just getting through products faster. But yeah, it takes a bit of a toll, just looking at dud after dud after dud. It's hard to keep the faith that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I think, right?
I agree. Absolutely. Jeff, why Mac? Mac is owned by the Estee Lauder companies, and all of those brands will eventually be gated. And it's also one where the brand on Amazon is so kind of messed up that it can cause some issues. Sometimes it's under, I haven't seen this one lately, but it used to be under like Mac Auto Parts quite a bit. And then it's under M.A.C. And then some of them are under just Mac. And then it's just one where not a lot of people can sell it anyway, it seems, and it's going to go away. So just don't deal with them anymore. Deal Hunter, I see that Christy answered your question, so I'm going to skip over that one now. Yeah, we unfortunately don't know why that close is grayed out. All right. Well, one last piece of news before we go. Grocery sales online grocery sales in November surged to $12.3 billion. That is a 29% increase year over year. 12.3 billion November 2025, 9.6 billion November 2024. I know that we say it a lot, but the future is bright for online sellers. We're going to have 2026 is set to have a ton of opportunity. I'm excited. So,
Yeah, for multiple reasons. I mean, we could probably pull at least half a dozen things that are just pointing to the seller that is serious about their business and serious about their operations and serious about the pressure they're putting on the gas pedal over these next several weeks and into Q5, essentially. There's going to be a lot of happy sellers here, in about a couple months from now.
absolutely. And on Sunday, we'll have something else to share with you guys that should help. But for now, we got to call it a night, and we'll see you guys on Sunday evening to do this all over again. Have a great night, everybody.